All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Fred McHugh. I am the Director of Infrastructure, Cloud, and Automation Services here at WEI. I've been with WEI a little over 12 years, going all the way from delivery of services to now I'm the Director of Services for this part of the company. With me today is Mike Jackson. He's the Partner Technical Director at Broadcom, and he is going to give you the rundown on the VCF stack and what you can do with it, and how WEI can help you with that, and what it can mean for your organization. Get a lot of great features with this stack, so we're going to go through that today. We have been working with VMware since I got here over 13 years ago. We work with all the major OEMs. We can build those solutions by bringing those together for you. If you're looking at hybrid cloud, I've got cloud architects as well. If you want to do DR to the cloud or you want to expand on the cloud, but basic data infrastructure, 100%. Enterprise mobility is newer for us, MDM and asset tracking. We've always done assets, laptops, tablets. We have a very big practice there, but in the last couple of years, we've gotten into MDM. We can manage that for you. We can set it up for you. So if you're in Intune or still with Workspace ONE, we have experts in that field that can really help you get the most out of those investments. As I said, networking security, my counterpart, Brian Jakes, runs that group. We have engineers across the spectrum and all the major partners. Firewalls, Fortinet, Juniper, Cisco. We have people, Wi-Fi, wireless, edge, SASE, network security, you name it. We've got people doing that. That's a very big growth place for us. Another group under me, DevOps and Automation. I have a team of DevOps or SysOps guys. We do a lot, I call it the Office of Special Projects. So do a lot of infrastructure as code, help you set that up if you want to go down that path and you're interested in like, what is Git? How do I use all this stuff? We have a team of guys if you need us to do some Terraform or Ansible work or Python or any sort of automation on these other platforms. Things like ARIA automation, which is included in the VCF stack. I've been delivering that since it was VCAC 6 10 years ago. So we have a lot of experience helping people with self-service, automation, hybrid cloud access to give them what they need. Also lifecycle management, cost analysis. We do a lot in that space. And our cloud solutions, as I said earlier, those sort of envelop everything today, whether you're looking for connectivity, best practice analytics, if you're looking for well-architected reviews, if you're looking for cost analytics, if you're looking for help with your marketplace transactions, if you're looking to purchase software through marketplace, we can help you with Azure and AWS. If you're looking to buy third-party software, if you have some spend credits that you'd like to get rid of, and you have a partner that's willing to work with you, we can help transact as well. And again, our DevOps, which I said sort of envelops all of these phases, they work in the cloud as well, doing Terraform and other setups. Specifically, we talk about my team with VCF and VMware. Like I said, we have been VMware partners for a long time. We have a very seasoned group of people, and we try to encompass all of your needs. So, we have really several high-level certified people, VCDX under the old VMware banner or Broadcom Knights under the Broadcom banner. We've had some of the first ones come through that program. We have experience with, all of the software-defined stack. We've been deploying this stuff for a long time, whether it's, vSAN, NSX, or the whole VCF suite, which we're going to get into in a bit, and how that works. But these are just some of my guys that sort of focus on this around the whole thing. We do training. If some of you know WEI, you probably come to some of our training classes where we offer lunch and learns or longer focused training to get you comfortable with your equipment or what you bought. And also roll it back to day 2 operations. We're here to help you take that to the next level. When you want to tune operations, when you want to get ARIA automation working for you, we've got people that can really help you get the most out of that investment with some of those other technologies and not just the virtualization piece, which I think provides a really robust all-in-one private cloud solution.
Thanks, Fred. Appreciate that. I'm going to be doing a more whiteboard presentation for this call today. And the reason I like to do that is to keep it interactive. And I know we probably have a wide range of people joining from either sales or leadership or technical or mixture of both. So I kind of want to make sure that everyone leaves with something important to them. So I'm going to kind of run through this and really kind of start off with talking through like the vision of Broadcom, because maybe you haven't seen the full picture of that yet, like what we're actually aiming towards. Because obviously there's been a lot of changes you haven't noticed over the past 2 years. Um, but I'm going to kind of walk through that, and I'm going to walk through the importance of VCF and where we see demand from our customers today and why we're doing what we're doing, and talk through the components of VCF, how they work together. And then I'll kind of finish up with a little bit of some things that were announced at Explorer, and maybe some other deep dive stuff. So by doing this, I would really love interaction along the way. So either raise your hand in Zoom or put something in the chat. And Fred, Ashley, Kathy, y'all can kind of sit there and just let me know when there's a question that comes up, or if you're brave enough, you can come off mute and interrupt. I'm totally fine with that, and no worries. But I'm going to go ahead and jump in. I guess I should say real quick, I'm a partner technical director, partner solution architect, whatever you want to call me. But I've been with VMware for 8 years, so pre-acquisition. So I've kind of been through a lot of this. Either I know both sides of the story for sure. And I've focused primarily on partners for that 8 years. And before that, I was also working at a pretty large partner as their chief VMware architect. So I've kind of done both sides of it. So about 15, 16 years total from a VMware consulting deployment perspective. But I'll go ahead and jump into this. And, again, feel free to put things in the chat, raise your hand, questions, whatever the case may be. I want to make sure this is valuable for all of you. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with kind of what's happened. I mean, I know, there's a lot of things that come out with like the quoting, and Broadcom is doing this and Broadcom's doing that. And the answer is, well, let's talk about why, right? Why are we going down this path? And you'll hear me say this a couple of times throughout the presentation. All roads lead to VCF from a VMware perspective, right? That has really been our strategy for the past 6 or 7 years. Whenever we came out with what we coined the software-defined data center, right? When we had networking that's been software defined, and storage and compute, and then added in all this automation. That's really been our goal. But it's been a challenge. It was a challenge before for VMware to do that. We were this happy, friendly, California company that would just want to make everyone happy and close deals and all this kind of stuff. And the real challenge that we ran into was that VMware was also a company of acquisition, right? It says 184 products, but realistically there were about 287 various small products that we had either acquired or just ingested over the couple of decades that we operated. And every time we acquired, I don't know, Nasira for NSX or Dynamic Ops for Ops Manager, we ran into this challenge of we would bring in these teams, and those teams it would be their own BU inside of VMware, and they would have their own way to do subscription. They would have their own way to do this. And then it was like for our customers, it was like choose your own adventure, right? You want to buy this product, that product, sure, whatever. There was no consistency from a technical direction where we could say, okay, we're going to develop this specific platform completely for our customers. So that was always a big issue that we had at VMware. Broadcom, on the other hand, also a company built off of acquisition, but VMware, the entire VCF platform, all of our products from the VMware standpoint is one BU, one business unit. So it's much more streamlined approach in how we focus our technology and our R&D. And Broadcom, overall, all paths lead to AI. That is the number one goal, is to be not only from the hardware perspective, because we obviously create a lot of chips and manufacturing equipment for AI, but for VCF to be the platform for our customers to consume AI. So overall, if you're ever looking like, why is Broadcom doing that? It's because we're trying to merge down the paths, because we know eventually that AI is going to be in every environment, whether it's large enterprise or small business. And so we need to be there to help with change that's going to happen to support our customers as they're going down this path. Now, Broadcom makes very quick decisions, and everything I'm telling you, this is my opening joke, is accurate as of Tuesday, the 23rd at 10:15 a.m. Central Time. But because we change very, very quickly, right? We make very quick decisions and move them very, very quickly as well. But, you know, there was a lot of problems that came out when we moved to subscription. And, you know, why did we do that? And all of these different things. And the reality is, you know, I remember back in the early 2000s going into a bookstore and buying Microsoft Word in a box, shrink wrapped on a shelf, right? Um, and that's the way we bought it. And then a couple of years later, people, you know, we were all forced to buy Office Suite. And I was like, no one's ever going to use PowerPoint. Like, I don't need this. No one needs Access. No one needs any of this stuff. But then we all grew to love the products, right? And then Microsoft came out and said, oh, this is going to be Office 365 now. Now you got to pay monthly. Well, everybody freaked out. Now Office 365 is an incredible product because they were able to focus their R&D into one specific platform moving forward and it meeting the needs of customers as they began their cloud journey. Now, this isn't a Microsoft commercial, but you've been through this before with other products. And at VMware and Broadcom, we're kind of at that beginning stage. We've made this step into a subscription motion. But all of our R&D, there's a percentage, I can't really say what it is, but it's significantly high. It's over 50% of our profit go back into R&D for VCF. That's where everything is going. So we're constantly trying to improve our products, meet demand, and fill the need for customers as they're kind of in this phase of figuring out what they want to do, right? You being those customers. So I'll kind of jump into this, and this is kind of the perspective that we have. Feel free to jump in and add your own perspective. But where we're seeing right now is our customers, hopefully everyone on this call, you're in this phase of you have ideas and you're trying to turn those into revenue, right? That's like business 101. And yeah, if you work for, you know, a public service company, maybe it's a service you're trying to deliver, or if you're at a hospital, it's different. But the end goal is that there's an idea that you're trying to get to market as quickly as possible. And the reason is, one, you're trying to generate a new revenue stream, right? That's how businesses operate. And also, if you have customers, you probably have competitors. And so you're trying to beat them to the best product that you have available for your customers. So there's this whole process of how do I be as agile and as quick and lower time to market for my applications as possible? And that's where we come in from a VCF perspective. And that's kind of the tail end of this. But that's the overall goal, is how can we deliver our platform in a way that allows you, the customer, to deliver it at the lowest possible cost, and also with the highest level of agility needed for that application, whether you're trying to scale it out, put governance and sovereignty around it, whatever the case may be. You want to deploy off of those two objectives: lowest cost, highest agility. So one thing that kind of started doing that in a way in, I would say, 2014, 2015 was public cloud, right? With AWS and then Azure and GCP and all the others, kind of, you know, the hyperscaler market. What that allowed was for customers like yourself to go in and say, hey, we need resources quickly. We're not going to spend the CapEx to buy a whole new set of hardware and rack and stack. We want to send it to the cloud because we can simply and easily stand up a workload, put on a credit card, and off we go. We have immediate resources for applications we're trying to develop or to scale out, right? It's very compelling, great, you know, thought process and argument to do that. But that came with challenges. Sovereignty would be one of them. Also the whole shadow IT side of it, where you could have a marketing department going up and spinning up resources in the cloud, and now it doesn't have the same tools, operating model, security, business continuity and disaster recovery policies as your on-prem environment did. And so there was a big struggle to kind of, get that under wraps and figure all of that out. And kind of, maybe you're managing two different types of operating models, one in the cloud and one on-prem. And yes, we came out with a hybrid cloud option that kind of fixed some of that for some people. But the reality that we've seen, and this may or may not relate to you, but this is what we see overall in the industry, is that while cloud has allowed for speed and agility very, very quickly, the cost side has increased significantly. And the reason there is because, obviously, as you know, if you're in public cloud, the more you consume the product, the higher the price, right? Because that's the way that cloud is based off of. And you're never going to get away from ingress and egress fees. Those are always going to be there. And so what started off as this quick, easy, let's just put it in the cloud, move on, turned into, well, now cloud costs are eating away from our operating costs and our profitability for the applications we're delivering. And so we've started to see, and this is across the industry, this is not necessarily a VMware talk track, but we've started to see repatriation of workloads, or I think better term for that is the rebalancing of workloads. So it's not that cloud is ever going to go away, public cloud, but it's the fact that there might be workloads that are better suited to run on-prem, right? Maybe the better cost analysis too to run on-prem versus exceeding OpEx costs running inside of a cloud. And so we're kind of in this phase now, and I've been on several consulting calls with customers that are in the exact same boat, right? They're trying to figure out how can we have a more consistent cost and predictable delivery model for our applications. But it may not be for all the applications, but some of them, they need that level. And so what we've done is if you look at our stack, and I'm going to get into kind of how VCF addresses this, it kind of goes through why we make changes inside of our offerings, right? So the offerings that we have out there that have kind of been there for a while, the Enterprise Plus and the vSphere Standard, those are, traditional. That's vSphere is our flagship product. It's never going to go away, but it's really just focusing on this one specific area of the data center, server consolidation, right? Now, I remember back in '05 when I got into VMware heavy duty. I was working as an IT director at a bank, and I went into this conference room where VMware went up there, and there was a gentleman on the stage that said, "Yeah, we moved our data center from Detroit to Houston in a weekend." My mind was blown. And it was a small environment. I had about 86 physical servers. I virtualized them to 3 physical hosts with storage. And in 6 months, I paid for that entire project just off the savings from power and cooling, right? It's a no-brainer. Server consolidation, taking better advantage of resources, vSphere Enterprise Plus and Standard, that's what hit the bill. And it saved me a significant amount of money by doing that. And honestly, it was pennies on the dollar, right, for what I paid. It was an incredible thing, and that's really why everyone fell in love with VMware, right? Because we could just shrink the budget or shrink the cost inside of the budget. Everyone's a hero. Uh, but what we found is that below this line, from a Broadcom perspective, moving forward, the company, it's a race to zero for us. Everyone already has vSphere, right? It's a race to zero because we can't help customers usher up and consume what we're trying to get our customers to consume and move up the stack. And it makes it difficult for us to be able to invest internally to make our products better because we're kind of stuck in this phase of, well, this is all that our customers are doing, right? Is just server consolidation. And this is not a new problem. If you were buying VMware in the teens, the 20 teens, there was always this phrase of no naked vSphere, right? And maybe that was more from a partner side, but we changed our offering from just buying vSphere to what we called vSphere with operations management, which I'll talk about. And that was the only way you could buy if you were moving into it. So it's not like this is a new problem that we've seen from a VMware perspective. And so our goal as a technology leader and a world leader in virtualization is to usher our customers along this path so that they're ready when the next thing hits, right? And so from that perspective, I can't really divulge any like dates or times or anything like that because who knows, but if I can leave you with one thing, this at the end of the day is going to be the product line that we focus everything on. Some of the names might change or something along those lines, but overall, everything is going to lead to VCF. the step below VCF, there will always pretty much be a step below VCF, is vSphere Foundation. Well, real quick, let me pause. I know I've just been kind of given a history lesson, but I'll pause real quick. Are there any questions or comments from the group? Anything like that?
I think we did
Yes.
have one, but I
Okay.
think I couldn't hear very well. Can you turn
Yeah,
your?
sorry. No, my boom was not adjusted. So I see where you guys are going here. I work for a manufacturing facility. We have a number of sites that just have a single ESXi host or a single Hyper-V host right now, because that's all we need for capacity at those sites. What kind of product lines will you have for infrastructure like that, where I don't need all the bells and whistles, but I need that
Right.
rock solid virtualization platform?
Okay. So Robo was great, right? I'll leave it at that. vSphere Robo was incredible offering. It was basically free almost. It seemed like that we were giving it away. So what we do have now is VCF Edge. And what that allows is, and I understand like a single host environment, and it was actually the original use case was around manufacturing. That was the first, so much so that in the beginning of VCF Edge, you could only sell it to an organization that was doing and had manufacturing sites. It's now expanded, and there's more to come. They're kind of refining it, but that is a lower cost model for having either a centralized or decentralized management of your fleet and remote locations. And so from that perspective, you can deploy it in a way to where it's a full, SDDC if you wanted. And it's at a lower price point. I don't know if it's half the price, whatever. I'm not in the quoting side of it, but it's roughly, it's significantly cheaper than what VCF is in general. And you don't have to have VCF at the primary site. I mean, you're going to eventually have it there, but if you maintain, be our customer, but it does allow for you to either do a decentralized management or a centralized management. You can even do to where you can build it internally, rack and stack it internally, crate it up, ship it out, hit the power button, and everything runs. Now, we typically would recommend, to have a, N+1 type of hardware scenario to where, if a host fails, the other one kicks in. vSAN is included so that could be the primary storage. And I understand you're probably saying, I don't even need all that. But that's the way that our product line is designed, is to always be able to provide N+1 failover high availability in case a challenge or problem does occur, right? And it's going to occur at some point, right? One day you're going to walk in, the light switch and flip it up and the light bulb's going to burn out. So it's only usually a matter of time before a problem happens. So we always have to bake that into our offerings. But I would say investigate that with WEI, and we can also look to see, what kind of design it could be that could best meet your needs as you're growing. Does that make sense?
It does. It does for sure. I'm a huge proponent of everything you just said about high availability, and but like I say, economically, it comes down to a lot of these sites could get by for a day or two,
Right.
without the need of, like, they don't need that compute, but they got to have a little bit on-prem. And this last round of renewals for us was just brutal, to the point where we didn't renew. We are actually looking at going to Hyper-V, and I really don't want to do that. So just looking for a solution that we can have that isn't just hammering us, that for these standalone environments where we might have 5 VMs at the most.
Right. Yeah. So VCF Edge will be the answer.
Cool. That's
Now,
awesome to hear.
and I can't fix budgets. And I can give answers. I'll give you the answer that I know. You may not like the answer. Sounds like you kind of like this one. But at the same time, I definitely want to be as transparent as possible. But I would, I would say that's and it is it comes down to a consultative approach of is the risk worth it from a one host perspective? And I get it. You know, you're like, hey,
100%. Yep.
you know, this is what it is. But that's the approach that we always have to take from the development side when we're kind of building out these products. So hopefully that makes sense.
100%. You're preaching to the choir there. It's like I lose a lot of sleep. Apparently, upper management doesn't. So that's not. It's
Yeah.
their call, right? So,
I've been there before. Make sure it's in
Yep.
writing.
Exactly.
Printed copy.
Right. Right. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, no, great question. Great question. And I know I kind of skimmed over that for everyone else, but I'll talk a little bit about that more in a second. But so the entry level step, and this could also be an option for a remote site from a cost perspective, is looking at vSphere Foundation, which is really kind of this bottom section of this entire chart. So vSphere Foundation, and some of you may already be on it today. The primary purpose of this is a stepping stone to get into VCF. Because it now starts to include other areas inside of the data center that customers are rapidly leveraging or using, or they have plans to do so. So if you're developing applications internally, modern apps, containers, we include Tanzu, which is now VKS built into the stack. So Kubernetes injected directly into the hypervisor. There were some announcements at Explorer about how we're now partnering with Ubuntu and other areas from like a Cloud OS perspective to make it even easier for customers to develop these applications internally. So that kind of checks one box inside of it. Also, from a storage perspective, we include vSAN, which is one of the products that we developed internally at VMware probably about 8 years ago for hyperconverged. It took off with VDI, right? Because there was an immediate need for high IOPS and lower cost because storage was so expensive. So vSAN really went in and delivered against that, and now that's also included inside of VCF, VBF moving forward. And then to me, what I think is the most critical product that we have in this entire stack, as far as adoption goes, is operations. Now, if you've never heard of operations, I'm going to explain it to you. If you have it and don't have it deployed, contact WEI and get it deployed. And if you have VBF or VCF, you have operations. It's a pretty incredible tool where it's basically injecting itself into your vCenter, and it's collecting data and metrics around performance, cost, risk analysis for your entire infrastructure. I've probably done 1,000 or so demos, POCs of operations in my time. And this is one product that I've seen. I actually have it from a customer that it saved them 1 FTE worth of time, 1 full-time employee. Not to say that you can go out and fire people. That's not the point. The point is usually people that work in IT, we have 5 or 6 hats that we wear, right? And so if we can relieve one of those burdens from someone or multiple people by a tool that leverages AI and ML, and it never takes a bathroom break, it never blinks, it never goes to sleep, it doesn't take a lunch break, and it's constantly monitoring your infrastructure and alerting you before problems actually even happen in some cases. It's really an incredible tool built into the stack. And so much so that it's required now moving forward with version 9 to have it deployed inside of the data center. It's a fairly small footprint from a resource consumption perspective. But what it will also help you do is right-size your infrastructure, right-size your virtual machines. And if the CEO, you have to take something to the CEO of the board that says, this is why we need X amount of new hardware for our next project or whatever it may be, operations can help you plan out and budget that. It can actually build a model that shows what happens, 1, if you don't add the hardware, or 2, if you do add the hardware, what it's going to look like. It also has cost modeling from a cloud perspective, so you can see where's the lowest cost for you to run your applications. And it's not in a biased perspective. You put in your own cost of what it might be, and it looks at the consumption of the resources, and it says, okay, we're looking at 5 applications. These top 3, they need to stay on-prem because it costs significantly lower to run it on-prem. These last 2, you should run these in the cloud because the costing and what you're using out of it is better suited for the cloud. So it will actually break that down for you and give you guidance on where to go. Now, you might have some products that do something very similar. And one of the things, it's not the most fun conversation to have, but one of the things that we kind of always have to do is, since we are kind of, I don't want to say forcing customers, but you know what I mean. I'm sure you know what I mean. We're kind of directing customers down a very specific consumption path of what products we have. It's important to take that high level look, either from the CFO perspective or whoever's making that determination, to say, where does VMware replace something that we already have? Now, I know that's not a fun thing to do. It's definitely not fun to go back and reconfigure everything. But from a cost analysis perspective, it could be very beneficial from an ROI side, right? When you're looking at total cost of ownership. So operations is key to that. It's more than monitoring. It's a complete operating model and cloud management platform to help you kind of consume, whether you're building out a full private cloud or you're still leveraging public cloud, so you can see where the best, highest cost and highest agility is for the applications to run. We also, it's not written in here, we also have logs included inside of that. So you could think of this, not to like name drop competitors, but it's easy to say Splunk, right? Owned by Cisco, great product, incredible product. But this is now built in and included. So log aggregation, right? All the logs from, the NetFlow that you can point to it from all your different devices, stream down into one centralized console into operations to help you troubleshoot and pinpoint issues and challenges. Because we all know in IT, I mean, you don't get a call on a Tuesday afternoon at 3:00 from anyone in leadership that says, hey, just want to let you know everything's going great. Good job. It doesn't happen. I mean, it's not that people don't care, but you're there for the problems that happen, right? You get the call at 3:00 when it's like, hey, everything's down, or this application is running slow. And everyone has, and the company has a voice at that point, right? So the benefit here is to allow operations and logs to predictive analytics to understand when problems might happen, to how to respond faster when the problems do happen from a troubleshooting perspective, and streamlining your approach, right? Narrowing your vision on what you need to focus on. So really incredible tools, really, really powerful. If you don't have it deployed, reach out to WEI so that they can help guide you through that process. I mean, if you look at their services stack, they pretty much cover everything that we do at a VMware perspective. And there are 5 kind of priority boxes in that second slide that Fred showed. We hit on every one of those except for mobility, because we sold off mobility. So we fall directly into the stack of what they're doing. So they're a great partner to work with. But yes, so that's operations. Any questions on operations, VVF, where this all flows and where it all sticks together? Okay, moving on. So I've kind of talked about, the vSphere side, that really just focuses on compute. And I've talked about the VVF side that's focusing more on the kind of infrastructure maintenance side of it. But really now we're going to move up the stack, and you can almost look at it as this product line here is just focusing on server consolidation, hardware, and some light automation. But we're still kind of on the hardware side. This starts to delve into the app side. But it's also more hardware centric in management of hardware, management of the infrastructure. Where VCF comes into play is the entire stack, not only from the hardware perspective or the physical layer, but a heavy focus on automation of applications as well. So we're kind of looking at this from, okay, I talked earlier about rebalancing. and pulling workloads off of the cloud. The only problem is I really liked the way the cloud operated. I liked the fact that everything was automated for me to deliver an application. I didn't have to go out and rack and stack something new or create all these different, network paths and security implementation and storage performance characteristics, blah, 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 blah. And so it's coming down to, I want to be able to deliver this by policy, very similar to how cloud works. So how can I do that on-prem? And so VCF is our answer to that. So much so that from a networking perspective, we include NSX to automate network creation, delivery, microsegmentation from a security perspective to provide security overlay over the applications from an east-west traffic perspective. We have IDS and IPS also included available to be able to protect against threats that are coming or threats that might already be there. And pulling all of this together so that our customers can start to consume and deliver their infrastructure needs in a very automated fashion, right? Very similar to how you would do it inside of a cloud today. And then on top of that, the product that Fred mentioned that he'd been working on for a very long time is automation. So this is really where kind of the infrastructure as a service internally comes into play. The fact that you can deliver this as a service for your own peers in your organization and BUs inside of your organization to deliver applications at scale, at speed, in a quick way so that it can be consumed, right? Because again, we're trying to lower time to market for your applications at the end of the day, right? We're trying to lower the time to market, provide a secure, highly governed environment, and predictable from a cost perspective. Don't roll your eyes at that comment. I know pricing has changed, but it's going to be pretty consistent moving forward. But overall, that's what we're able to do with the entire VCF stack deployed. Now, we have gone through quite a bit of changes. I don't know if any of you were at Explore, but there's been a lot of new announcements around VCF. I can tell you this, when I talked earlier about how much we're investing in R&D, a year ago, this past week, they gave us a preview internally of VCF 9, okay? And we went through it and we're like, oh, this is really, really cool. They've done a lot of new things. The product that we released in July or early August, or maybe it was June 17th. It was around the summer time frame. The product that we released looked vastly different than what they showed us in October. Completely ramped up development and made everything much more streamlined from not only a deployment perspective, but a consumption perspective. It used to be if you wanted to deploy VCF, and by the way, in the VMware days, VCF was $26,000 per CPU, right? I mean, yeah, we're on a core model now, but it was very, very, very expensive. Now it's much more approachable. It was around 50% cut off the price because we know that we have to get customers to consume this product from us because this is the future of our company, is what it comes down to. So we've done that on purpose because we know that we need to get all of our customers moving down this path. Even if you're a small kind of mom and pop shop or whatever the case may be, there are things coming down from a roadmap technology perspective that will require VCF to really run and operate in your environment. AI being one of those, which was also announced at our Explore that our private AI package, where we partner with NVIDIA and now AMD and some others, is now included inside of VCF, basically for free. It's just built into it. It used to be something that's like an add-on you had to buy, but now we're just including it because that is the future and direction of where we're going. Now you could say like, oh, we don't have any plans to do AI. That could be 10 years from now. Oh, that's why we're developing it now. We're trying to get the seeds planted so that it's there and available. And it's going to happen, right? Right now, large, gigantic global organizations and large enterprise are investigating and diving deep into it. And that's just going to trickle down once it's been, fully vetted design, those RAG workflows and all those other components that they're creating, it's going to get compartmentalized and it's going to be available all the way down to the small business. So regardless of where you are from a size perspective, AI is coming. There's no way around it. It's just because your competitors will go for it if you don't, right? And they're going to have advanced services and capabilities and offerings. So it's like a race right now, and you're in it, you may not know it, or maybe you're very well aware of it, right? Because everyone's kind of at a different stage. But that's what we're planning this foundation for, is to get ready for that. All right, I see a question in the chat. I'm hearing challenges with companies that have historically had their products integrated with VMware. Now that the customers have gone to VCF 9, such as Zerto, any comments on how Broadcom is working to continue those relationships? I'm not as familiar with the Zerto, a great product. I remember it from back in the day when I was on the consulting side. I'm not as familiar with Zerto on its capabilities, but we still have a very unique and important ecosystem of partners that we're constantly working on and developing with in our applications. If I would say, if you're planning to move to VCF, I would say start with operations first, right? When you buy VCF, you can still deploy a la carte individually any one of these things, right? It's no requirement that you have to deploy full stack. Now, we need you to deploy full stack eventually, but you can step into VCF. And I would defer to WEI in this case. I'm not trying to give advice on that side of it. But from my perspective, starting off with something like operations, which is going to be required anyways, because the licensing components are moved into operations now moving forward. As a quick aside, in case you didn't know this, we used to have a license key that honestly, you could take your key, put it in this chat from a perpetual license standpoint, and give it to anyone, and anyone could just deploy it. Like, we didn't really phone home to collect and say, hey, this has been deployed 10 times, right? Microsoft fixed this over a decade ago. VMware was never able to fix it. So now we have fixed it with a license file, and that is incorporated inside of operations. So to move on to 9 and anything else, operations has to be deployed. It's a requirement. And you can look at it from two perspectives. Oh, VMware, Broadcom, they're just trying to get every penny they can. Sure, that is one thing. Absolutely. We don't like pirated software. Yeah, guilty as charged. But the other thing is, a lot of customers got themselves into trouble because license management was not great, right? And then you would get that call, hey, you need to be audited. And it turns out you used one key for 50 different, deployments across 50 different cities. And now you're getting fined for it because it's a real thing. So this kind of removes that as a challenge, and it's much more secure. We have centralized certificate management also inside of operations. You can look at external CA. It really has changed a lot of that. I kind of got off track. I forgot where I was going with that one. Back to the question. So what I would say is, where I'm seeing customers doing this now is, one, they're starting off deploying operations. That you build a plan of attack when you're deploying VCF. In the old days, it could only be greenfield deployment, right? So it had to be all new hardware, all new hosts. You couldn't bring anything over. Now, started a little bit in 5.2, which was released last summer, but now with 9, we can ingest existing vSphere deployments. So if you already have your vCenter set up, if you're on 8.x or above, you can go directly into VCF 9. It's basically an in-place upgrade. And it'll create what we call is the management domain. It creates that first instance of a management domain and a workload domain. And we can kind of dive into that at a different time. If you're not familiar with the mechanics of VCF, I'm happy to do that. But it basically creates that for you. So now you don't necessarily have to have new hardware. We also have reduced the amount of hosts that are necessary to stand up a VCF instance. So now you can get in with a 3-host environment or a 4-host environment. We're always going to recommend 4, but you can get in with a 3-host environment. Edge is different. Edge can be all the way down to 1 or 2. because that's very specific to a use case around remote locations. But from VCF in general, that's what we're looking at. So that's changed quite a bit. So back to this point, I would deploy operations, get comfortable with that, and then I would develop a plan with WEI to deploy the rest of the stack to run through basically the new quote unquote wizard that we have that just automates VCF deployment across the board. It just completely automates it. I mean, yeah, there's an answer file you have to put in, subnetting and all that kind of cool nerdy stuff. But overall, it automates the deployment of it that makes it much more streamlined and easy to consume. Now, typically, there's like if you're more cautious, I would wait for 9.1. If you're concerned about any of these other vendors out there that you currently leverage tools with, because they're still probably going through the test phase of making sure their applications will work with our solution. So 9.1 will probably be the point in time where if you have something that isn't on that list, hopefully by then, because it's the responsibility of the vendor, the third-party vendor, to do the majority of the testing, right, and then publish it with us. So if there is a vendor that has not done that yet, they're probably working on that now. So I would say probably by 9.1, if there is a vendor that isn't on the list, it will be on the list. It's not a great answer, but that's the best answer I have. But I know there's no roadmap where we don't include an ecosystem that hits other areas of the data center, right? We work together. There might be some areas inside of a solution that don't work well with what we're providing, but overall, we have to have that integration because our customers are using that today. So that's the goal moving forward. Does that kind of maybe answer your question in a long-winded way? Hopefully this all makes sense from what VCF is able to deliver and accomplish from a high level and also from a little bit more of the technical level. I tried to kind of balance that tightrope in talking through those. There's a lot of fundamental changes. I would say that if you did not go to Explorer, I would definitely recommend either getting on a call with your Broadcom AD and have them have an SE that can come in and show you things, or work with WEI where they can show you what kind of the newest, latest, and greatest things are. But there were a lot of enhancements and updates and innovations that were announced at Explorer, used to be VMworld, right? That really kind of, show you directionally where we're going. A lot of these up here are focused primarily on AI, right? So building it directly into the platform for VCF. So it's just there, right? It's there for whenever you're ready to consume. There are steps. You need to have GPUs in place and blah, 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 and all that kind of thing. But we are preparing the infrastructure for AI when it does come and it's your time to start consuming it. Expanded collaborations with AMD and NVIDIA. That's a huge one. We didn't have AMD before. Now we have AMD, and they have their own kind of set of tools that are pretty awesome and amazing. So that's a great thing. So we are still expanding our ecosystem there, which we're just going to have to, right? Also, I talked a little bit about Ubuntu being built in with VKS, our modern app. So the partnership with Canonical is helping there, because it now answers another side of the modern app delivery side that we can help with and is integrated. And that kind of talks through all of these up here, unifying the storage objects now being included inside of that for unifying those storage policies. And then we kind of dive down a little bit more into what's happening from a security perspective. And one thing I didn't mention, sorry, I'm going to backtrack. Apologies. I'll just do it like this. The other thing that's included inside of ops, sorry, I meant to say this earlier, is governance. So if you're regulated by any agency and you have audits that may or may not happen, whether it's HIPAA, PCI, GLBA, SOX, any of those different things, operations has a governance policy and tool that scans your infrastructure constantly and looks to where you fall outside of whatever those benchmarks are from a compliancy perspective. Yeah, I mentioned earlier I worked in banking, so I was very familiar with the audit process and kind of what I had to provide. And it was almost a full-time job to stay on top of it, patching all of my different servers and staying up to date here, staying up to date there, hardening my infrastructure based off of what those compliancy regulations were. Operations has a person, basically an AI that does it for you. So it's built into the stack. So I just wanted to throw that out there when I saw it on the other side slide, that is something that just comes. It comes with VVF and it comes with VCF. So if that's something you have to deal with, that's another strong reason to deploy operations. Hopefully I just did an amazing job. I know that's not likely, but if you do have any follow-up, please reach out to the WEI team. They can engage us to help kind of come back through. Ashley's been on the call. Sorry, I didn't introduce you earlier, but she works with me and we kind of, help maintain the partnerships. So please reach out. You have resources available from the Broadcom side. You have excellent resources on the WEI side. And thank you for your time.